In this video, we will be setting up a small candy still life, enlarging it, and shading it in color pencil blending. Step 1 is to create your small candy still life. Take a 5" by 5" piece of white drawing paper or tag board and create a 1" grid across the entire thing. You can see here I'm using a ruler and a pencil and making small lines at each 1" mark. Then I'm taking my ruler and I'm drawing straight lines horizontally across the tag board and then also vertically to get a 1" by 1" grid. Draw these lines dark enough so that you can easily see them. You will not have to worry about erasing them. You can see here that my grid is divided evenly into 25 1" blocks. Next, take your small candy wrapper and gently open it and spill out the candy that's inside. Arrange your candy and your wrapper on the grid in the way that you want to draw them. So move the candy around, think about color placement, think about placement of the candy, and also think about where you want your wrapper to be in your drawing. Using some kind of glue, you're going to glue down all of your candy and your wrapper. Using glue, you're going to glue down all of your candy and your wrapper. I find that a hot glue gun works best for this process, so if you have one, you definitely want to use that. You just want to be careful because if you're gluing down anything that has chocolate on it, the hot glue might melt the chocolate a little bit, so you'll just have to test it out and see what works. Now we're going to create a grid on the white drawing paper that we're going to do the enlargement on. The ratio I'm going to be using is 1 to 1.5. So instead of 5 1" squares, I'm doing 5 1.5" squares. So you'll see me using the ruler and measuring out little tick marks at every 1.5 inches. And now I'm taking the ruler and drawing vertical lines and horizontal lines across the paper to create my grid. Now all I need to do is look at my original candy still life grid and now enlarge all of my objects onto my drawing paper. So wherever I see a Skittle on my grid, I'm going to find that same square and now I'm going to draw it proportionally to my paper. You'll also notice that I've added in my cast shadows. So my document camera naturally casts a shadow from the light source that's coming from up above. So I'm adding them in as I'm going. And if you don't have those on your little candy still life, you can shine a light on it to actually provide one, or you can kind of imagine where that would naturally go. Here I am now starting to draw in the details on my wrapper. So this is a little bit more complicated because I have a lot of letters, I have a lot of small shapes, and I can't exactly see where they go on the grid because the wrapper is solid. So I'm doing my best to size my letters out, look for placement, look for direction, and then starting to sketch them in. Remember that this is all going to be done in color pencil blending, so I don't want to draw too dark. In the video, I do draw dark enough so that the viewers can see, but if I wasn't doing this as a video, I probably would sketch a little bit lighter. Once your sketch is complete, you can erase all of your grid lines and begin your color pencil shading. As you are working, make sure you're shading according to your light source. So you want to observe where your brightest areas are, where your darkest areas are, and also make sure that you're using a variety of colors. So blending with color complements to create shadowy areas, and also blending different colors to create the different variations in each of your objects. You can start your color pencil shading in any area that you like. So in the tutorial video, I am starting by shading my Skittles in. So you can see here I'm kind of doing some base layers with the color pencils, then I go back in and add some shadows, burnish out with some white, and then I also start adding in my cast shadows. So you'll see that my cast shadows are really vibrant, and I used my cool colors of light blue and dark blue. This was an artistic choice that I made in my piece. You don't have to do your cast shadows this bright and vibrant. However, I like how it kind of gives an artistic feel to the drawing. So don't be afraid to experiment and try out new things. You don't just have to do all your cast shadows in grays. Sometimes they can look cool in other cool colors like blues or purples or greens. Alright, so you'll see all of my shading is just about done, but I still have a couple details that I needed to add on. So the S for my Skittles on each of my Skittle candies was a little bit hard to do with a white color pencil. So a trick that a lot of artists will use is they'll use a white gel pen or white paint to add in highlights or other little white details. So I'm using a tiny brush and some just white acrylic paint, and I'm going in and painting each of those little S's right on the top of some of my Skittles. So you can do that too if you have little white details or little glare marks on your candy wrappers. And for my finishing artistic element, I'm adding a border onto my piece. So I actually had already measured that into my piece when I did the grid. And when I did my Skittles wrapper, I drew some parts of it kind of coming over the border because I liked how that looked. So now I'm just taking my ruler and a Sharpie and I'm going over those lines and creating a nice thick black border. And there you go, a small candy still life enlarged into a beautiful color pencil drawing. Now it's your turn, give it a try.